Thank you for joining us today, everybody. We are joined by Michael Fynne. Hello, sir. How are you?
What's going on, guys? What's good?
Like we were just saying before we started recording, absolutely love the look. So what inspired that? I've got to ask, first of all, what inspired the look?
Well, first of all, thank you. And second of all, how could you not love this look? I mean, it's turned up is what it is. But what inspired the look is when I wrestled, I mean, first of all, I've been training since 2007, and I've been a pro since 2010. So I've been doing shows since 2010. Mm-hmm. And the first 5 years between 2010 to 2015, I was wrestling for DPW, which is, I'd say it's not the first promotion in Denmark, but it's one of the first from what I understand. But The first 5 years of my career was with that company. And when I was there, I was just pretty much a bland looking wrestler. I had these clown, not tights, but pants, trousers, which went up to my shin because I ordered them in medium and I misunderstood. I thought it was the waist, but yeah, so go figure. But then when Bodyslam was found, I had the idea of doing, because I'm a rapper in real life.
Right.
So the inspiration came from around 2014, 2015. Trap music was getting really popular. And I thought it could be funny to act and dress like and look like these trap rappers, which were becoming really mainstream at the time. So that's where the inspiration comes from for my character / gimmick.
We were saying earlier, you were going for 4 pairs of sunglasses. I did see when I was doing my research, I was like, there is a picture of you with 4 pairs of sunglasses on.
There is.
Yeah, there's one of them where it's like you've got these star glasses.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 pairs of sunglasses above it. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know how you balance them on your head, but I respect that you do it.
I mean, the only reason why I could and still can, even with 3, is because of my dreadlocks. So,
right.
Because of my hair, I can kind of stick them into the side of my hair, if that makes sense. If I had short hair, I don't think I'd be able to pull it off properly. But when I started that gimmick, originally I was still trying to when I was trying to get my feet wet and figure out what my look other than my gear. When I was trying to figure out what my look was going to be, the whole thing with the 3 sunglasses didn't come straight away. It wasn't until we were doing a promo for, I think it was either our third or it was our third show. So we were doing promos, and I forget where it was, but I had to use some sunglasses because originally I just came out in shades. And then I forgot my own sunglasses at home, and then I had to find some other ones which were just laying about, and I couldn't make up my mind which one I wanted to use. So I just thought, fuck it, let me take all of them with me, and then I'll figure it out. And then as a joke, I put them on my just put as many as I could on my forehead and even on my t-shirt, and that's where it originated from, actually. So it started off as a joke, and then it became my look, basically.
Before we talk wrestling as well, I know you mentioned that you are a rapper. I was just listening to is it Paradise?
Oh yeah, the one that just came out.
Just checking it out. I love it. I mean, I'm a rock and roll heavy metal guy, but even I love that. Has music always been a big part of your life?
Well, yes, and well, in a way. I mean, as a kid, I listened to a lot of music, but it wasn't my dream. As a kid, my dream was always to become a pro wrestler, but it wasn't until I got to when I was 13 where I started rapping for fun, and then it just became more and more serious. And I started rapping actually around the same time I began my training to become a pro wrestler. So I'd say from my teenage years on, up until my adulthood and moving forward, it's been a huge part of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously it's allowed you to incorporate the two together as well. Obviously, rap and wrestling, the look, it goes really well, man. But I genuinely just listened to Paradise about 10 minutes before we called you, and absolutely loved it, man. Absolutely loved it.
I'll have to listen to that after we're finished. I'll definitely check that out.
I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you like it. That comes a lot. I mean, that means a lot for me when I can like get people who listen to like other genres to like my music. So that means I've done my job properly, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mike, one thing that really stood out about you, got to mention it now. When I was doing my research on you, you've pretty much won championships everywhere you've been. Like, you know, you're a very well decorated wrestler. And you said it was always your goal to be a wrestler. It was always your dream. What's it like for you? You know, you've collected gold everywhere you've been. Do you feel like, you know, it's a dream come true for you now? Because you've been at the top of the Bodyslam mountain, the DPW mountain, you know. Is that surreal for you now, looking back, thinking that was my dream to be a pro wrestler, and now I've been world champion in 2 promotions?
I'd say in a way, yes. I mean, at the time, especially like when I won my first championship that I won was the light heavyweight championship in DPW. At the time, it was surreal, but like back then, I've mentioned this before, I wasn't ready for it either, because when I won it, I was 17 at the time, and I've only been training at that point. I've been training for about, I'd say 4 years, but I've only been wrestling on shows for a year. And then as time went on and I got more experience under my belt, I'd say like, I'm not really the type of person to like stop and smell the roses as I'm in the moment. But in hindsight, like if I told the 12-year-old me, because like I think we're all marks, like pretty much. But as a kid, I was like a huge mark. All I did was like watch, like for the record, like the reason why I was a fan from such a young age, because there's not really any history of wrestling in Denmark. They don't show on television to this day, actually. But well, long story short, I'm from Denmark originally, but I lived in Birmingham for 8 years. Right. My dad. Hence my accent.
I was going to say, there's a bit of a Brummie accent there.
Yeah. I lived in Handsworth. So when I was 5, I'm born in Denmark. My mom's Danish and my dad's from Gambia. But when I was 5, we moved to Birmingham because my dad had to go study at Birmingham University. And then we ended up staying for almost a decade. And that's how I got into wrestling. But to answer your question, like, if I told the 12-year-old me about all of this, I'd probably mark out. But like now it's mainly like a hindsight thing where I look back and I think that's pretty cool. If that makes sense.
It is pretty cool, man. You're not just like a former Bodyslam champion. I believe you're the longest reigning Bodyslam champion.
Yeah, and the funny thing is it wasn't supposed to be that long. I mean, that title reign, it was a mistake because when I won the belt, I was a heel when I won the belt. The plan was for me to like win it, and then I had to defend it either once or twice, one of them being against Alexander James, by the way. And then I was supposed to lose, win it back, lose, win it back, lose. And then I forget what the plans were after that. But the gist of the story was like I was a heel who couldn't win without my crew, which was the Shotgun Cartel at the time. But then what happened was, as time went on, there was I knew the exact dates when I was supposed to like lose the title. But what happened was, like, without going into too much detail, certain things happened. And then on the day of, I was told so-and-so, you know, whatever happened. And then I had to keep the belt longer. And that happened twice, actually. So it was by mistake that I actually had that reign. It was never planned from the beginning.
And what a great reign, man. Like you said, you defended against Alexander James, but also Chris Brooks, Emeritus, you know, who's Bodyslam champion now. Joseph Connors, you know. You had a great reign and you defeated some great names. So I'd say that was definitely a success, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. And like, I'm happy, like, because, like, well, with me personally, like, I'm not the type of person, because like wrestling is a work, so I'm not the type of person to like tell people, oh, I'm a former Bodyslam champion. I know some people do like to do that, but I personally don't. But what it does mean a lot to me is that like Bodyslam, they had enough I was gonna say courage. No, they had enough. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? They had enough faith. Yeah, they had enough faith in me to like let me carry the belt for that long. So in that sense, it means a lot to me. And if I didn't have that reign, then I probably wouldn't have faced those people because you know things just would have looked different.
Yeah. Well, I think you actually as well. You mentioned Alexander.
The word was confidence. It was confidence. I was looking for.
There we go.
Confidence. Yeah.
We spoke to Alexander James before Christmas, and he's a guy that I think is very underrated. I mean, he's a trainer at WXW. He's very well established. What was it like wrestling Alexander? Was that a big learning curve for you?
It was. I mean, because I've wrestled. He's not the first like big name in the indies I've wrestled. Like prior to him, I've wrestled Drew Galloway after he got released the first time. I think the match that was in DPW. This was like pre-Bodyslam, where I actually lost the DPW title to him. And then I've wrestled other people. Like I can tell you who after we go off the air, but for like speaking out reasons, I can't say who it is. I can, but I probably shouldn't. But after I can tell you who. But
we understand, dude. We totally understand.
Yeah, so he's not the first like big indie name I've wrestled, but as far as Bodyslam goes, he is, and I learned a lot from it, and he was really easy to work with, real laid back dude. So yeah, that was a huge learning experience for me as well. Yeah,
and obviously you mentioned Drew as well. I mean, that must have been a big learning experience as well to see him. He's gone back to WWE as the world champion. What was it like in the ring with Drew as well?
It was dope. Like when that happened, like he was all over the place, like everywhere. And I remember specifically that day or that night we were doing that show. The match, we didn't plan the match until like right before we went out. So as the co-main event was going on, we had to go through the match. But the reason why we went through the match as the co-main event was going on was because I forget where he was flying in from, but he had wrestled somewhere else in Europe near Denmark, and his flight got canceled, so he had to wait for another flight. And then when he arrived, it was like the show was I wouldn't say it had just begun, but we were around like the second or third match.
Yeah.
So that was like the first time where I'd say, because before that, I was used to like having enough time to plan the match on the day of the show, and now we had like probably 20 minutes, and I just listened to everything he said, and like he wasn't the only one in the match. It was me against him against Chaos, who's like he's the promoter for DPW, but he also wrestles. So it's a triple threat, but he was the one who's like the ring general. So I just listened to everything he said, and it went smoothly, in my opinion. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing sometime down the line you'd like to mix it up again with Drew at some point. You know, is the WWE champion right now, is the guy. You've already got a history of wrestling him for big championships. Do you want to do that again someday?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to like cross paths with him again somehow. Where it's gonna be, I'm not quite sure, because like this is something I've touched on just recently, but like I don't have too much interest in going to WWE, and the reason why is because of the micromanagement, and like I don't compromise myself for nobody, but if I go there, I know that they're somehow gonna make me give up my music, or they have to take like a percentage of it. And on top of that, I'm very outspoken, like on social media and stuff like that. So I don't think the WWE is for me unless like they change the system. But if somehow it should happen anywhere else, like then I'd be down for it. Like my hopes are I mean, I'll be honest. Like I said this recently as well. Like my music right now is like the top priority. So, but if there's a place I would like to go, if the offer should like arise, it's AEW. That's a place I'm very interested in going. Like WWE was the goal originally when I started training. Like, because as a kid, when I was a kid, I'm 26, about to be 27. But when I was a kid, like when I started getting into it around 2001, 2002, WCW was like already dead.
Yeah.
And so was ECW. So I only watched WWF when it was about to be WWE. So originally that was the goal for me, like to get to WWE. But now, as I've like been in the business since I was like 13, and like I've seen things, and like I just in general know how the business works now, I don't think that the WWE is the place for me, if I have to be honest. I mean, never say never, but as of now, like the whole, like I'm not willing to change my name, and I'm not willing to give up my music career. But if AEW should be the place, like, then I'd be down.
Man, that would be awesome. Like we've spoken to a few people who have had experience with AEW in the last months, and a lot of them have said like that's what appeals to them. It's always good to make more money, but the fact they get creative freedom, they can stay true to themselves, is what appeals more than anything.
Yeah, and I kind of hope, like, if I have to keep it real, like I hope that eventually, as AEW they keep growing, I hope that WWE kind of changes that as well, where their wrestlers get more creative freedom. Because like, I mean, just me, like as an artist in general, if I had someone tell me, like, and I know like people think when they're signed to a major label, like they have no control, but that's not true. It depends on what deal you have. But it's like, it's the equivalent to me being signed to a major label, and someone tells me I can't write this and I can't like say these words, etc., etc. I mean, yes, they do. If you're signed to a major label, there are certain things that they have control over. But from what I understand, like even like when they do their matches, I could be wrong, so don't quote me on it. But even when they do the matches in WWE for TV, like they have like the producers telling the ref what to do and like where to stand. I mean, if they could ease up on that and probably like give the wrestlers a bit more freedom and like not own everyone's names, then probably I hope that's what happens, because that'll be, I'm not anti WWE and I don't want them to fail, like, but the more competition, the better, like for the wrestlers. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. The more competition, the better for wrestlers, fans, everybody. You know, competition brings out the best in people, hence the Monday Night Wars.
Exactly.
That was the best TV. And now we've got like NXT and AEW. I like to think fans should just appreciate how cool that is. You know, we've got all this cool wrestling. And I think for the wrestlers, it's great that you've got alternatives where you can make the good money, but also keep your creative freedom. The AEW's been doing some great work with AEW Dark recently, bringing in a lot of independent names, actually signing some of them too. Hopefully when, you know, the world opens up a bit, that could be an option for you. You know, you could get that break in AEW. You could appear on AEW Dark. You could be All Elite at some point. If you did sign, who would you want to mix it up with the most in All Elite Wrestling?
It's tough to answer, like, but off the top of my head, I'd probably say MJF.
Really?
I love that guy. I really love that guy. I mean, fucking charisma for days.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot, but he's like the first one that like comes to mind. I mean, I don't know the guy, but I'd imagine, I'd hope that he's someone that I'd have great chemistry with in the ring. And there's obviously like Chris Jericho and Cody. Kenny.
That would be awesome, dude. Like, I can just imagine, like, I think MJF is one of those guys, like you said, you know, if he went to WWE, I don't think he'd be the same guy, you know.
No.
At least in AEW, he's able to stay true to that character that he was before on the independents. He's not changed a bit. He's still himself.
And no, should he? But yeah, I think that you're right. If he did go to WWE, because like I don't watch indie wrestling as much as I used to, but like before AEW, I know he did stuff with like MLW and stuff, but before he got to AEW, he wasn't one of those indie stars that was like at that AJ Styles, Fergal Devitt, Finn Balor level. From what but if he did have that kind of demand, then probably, but like without like making it sound disrespectful, most guys who do sign there, they kind of get, you know, I don't want to say buried, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I think that would have happened to him, unfortunately, if he did sign. And I even like I listened to Jericho, the podcast he did with Brody Lee, rest in peace, where he says that MJF, he did mention to him that he doesn't think he would fit into that system they have over there. So yeah.
Going back to obviously the Bodyslam, the Scandinavian scene this past like few months before Christmas has really seen a boom. You're getting a lot of eyes on the product. How cool was that for you to see the eyes on the Scandinavian scene?
It's crazy, to be honest, because when I started training, like I had no training when I lived in England, by the way. I wanted to, but like I couldn't find any schools. And this was like before the UK boom. I know there was some place in London, but my family couldn't afford to like get me there every week back and forth between the Midlands and London. But when I started training when I was 13, right after I moved back to Denmark, like I had no clue that wrestling existed over here. And hence, like mind you, like every summer and Christmas when I lived in the UK, we would come back to visit our family every summer and Christmas, and I still had no clue there was any wrestling over here. But then one day we found out there actually was a scene. And when I say, like, I use the word scene very loosely because there was like one promotion, what was DPW at the time, and it wasn't what it is like today. Not that we're at the top now either, but back then there was like really no scene. They did shows, but it wasn't until around 2015, like when Bodyslam started to like do their first shows, and when they started to grow, like where more eyeballs came to the Scandinavian scene. And now it just like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, because when I started with Bodyslam, like I was, before that, I was about to quit actually, just because the passion was gone. And, you know, I had some tension. I wouldn't call it beef, but I had some tension with Chaos at the time. So the plan was like lose the belt to Drew and then do my last couple of shows with DPW. And then I would just take a break for about a year and then kind of like, you know, think about what I wanted to do with wrestling. But I think I would have quit, to be honest. But then Christian and Soren, Christian from Bodyslam, he told me that he was starting a new promotion called Bodyslam. And then my motivation came back. And my goal has always been ever since to like just grow the Scandinavian scene. It's like, especially in Denmark, as much as possible. And to see it growing as fast, like I didn't think it would grow this fast. Like I just thought it would be like do shows in Denmark and then have like a fan base there and then that's it. But to see like the attention that we've been getting like from other countries is kind of surreal, because again, like I mentioned earlier, there was no like scene in Denmark, let alone entire like the whole of Scandinavia. So it's crazy to see it grow, and especially at this pace. So yeah, man, I just hope it keeps on growing.
I really do think it will. I think you've got a lot of attention at the moment, and countries go through these like boom periods. Like you mentioned, the UK boom period. We used to have a very, very limited wrestling scene. No schools. There was like 2 promotions, and then over the space of a year, it exploded. Everywhere has a promotion now. Some of the best wrestlers in the world are from the UK, and I think that's where it's going to happen for the Danish wrestling scene too, and Norway, Finland, everywhere is, Sweden, everywhere's got a great wrestling scene over there now. Yeah. And I think now you've got that attention, that people are going to keep watching. And as soon as the world opens up, I think there's going to be a huge influx of people traveling over there as well to see the shows. We want to do it. We want to come over and see the shows because it'll be different to what we've got. And, I think it was Emeritus who was saying, what's going to be cool about the Scandinavian wrestling scene is it's going to be different to anything else in the world. Oh, yeah. And I think that's what really interests me about it.
Yeah. So, because the Scandinavian scene, because wrestling, like everywhere else where wrestling is like mainstream or just like has like history of like wrestling being in those countries, over here, like for example, when we do a show in Copenhagen, like I'll give you an example. Actually, this was actually in Sweden though, but the first time I wrestled in Sweden, like the crowd was fucking insane. And I kid you not, like I remember there was one match where someone did a snapmare and they fucking popped as if Stone Cold came to the ring and gave everyone a stunner. I mean, and it's still kind of like that now. Like you can do a body slam and they'll pop for it like it's like a Canadian destroyer. Yeah. So luckily for us, because the audience in Denmark and in Scandinavia, they're not that spoiled. Like it doesn't. Well, you still have to put in work and put in like an effort when you're doing your matches, but you don't have to kill yourself and do all kind of like dangerous high spots to get a pop. So we're still at that stage, like we're still in the beginning stages. And I think when you guys come over to witness it, like you'd be like it's one thing to see it like on highlight videos and stuff, but when you come there and see it live, like you'll be very surprised like how little effort we put, because like we're mainly like about storytelling. Because when you speak to Danes about wrestling, what they think of is like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, The Undertaker. Because if I'm not mistaken, back in the 80s and 90s, they actually did show wrestling on TV, and then it kind of got scrapped. But that's who they think of when you mention wrestling. So we're like, that's why when you watch Bodyslam, everyone has a gimmick. There's me with the sunglasses, one of the three sunglasses, and then there's Emeritus with the ghost gimmick. So yeah.
That's cool though. Like you said, it focuses on the storytelling, and that's what will make Scandigraps so unique. That's where in the UK we're very heavy on like technical wrestling and the striking and stuff like that. Scandinavian wrestling will have the storytelling, the unique characters, and that will be what draws people to it. And at the end of the day, you've got to think we all probably fell in love with wrestling because of the storytelling. That's what everyone likes about it when they're a kid. So I really do think there's going to be a boom period over the next couple of years for Scandinavian wrestling, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, man. I mean, hopefully when this pandemic ends, then like the boom will happen, because I felt like by the end of 2019, heading into 2020, we had like some momentum like going, because prior to 2020, like 2020 and 2021, hopefully 2021 still will be, but 2020 was supposed to be our busiest like year as far as like shows, like the schedule went. But like between 2015 to like 2018, 2019 ish, like we didn't have shows that often. We probably had like 2 to 3 times, maybe 4 times a year. And by 2020, it would have been like, I think we had like 7 to 8 shows lined up, if I'm not mistaken. And then the fucking like COVID-19 hits, and then like everything just fucking shut down. But I feel like when the pandemic does eventually end, then we'll hopefully see some momentum coming back. Yeah.
All right. Well, I was going to say, before we wrap up, that was going to be my next question. You've just said what's in store for Scandinavian wrestling, but when this pandemic's over, what can we expect from Michael Fynne? Like, where do you want to go? What are your goals when this pandemic's over?
Right. So my goals as far as wrestling, like I mentioned earlier, is basically still just to like grow Bodyslam Pro Wrestling. I mean, Scandinavia as well, but like Bodyslam is my home promotion, and it's because of Bodyslam I'm still wrestling, to be honest, because like if like I mentioned earlier, I was about to quit, and if Bodyslam should end, this might be disappointing for some to hear, like unless I do get an offer I can't refuse, hopefully from AEW, because I'm just not willing. I do have passion for wrestling still, but it's not the passion that I once had, and I'm not willing to go out and chase it. So if Bodyslam should end tomorrow, God forbid, but if it should end tomorrow, that will probably be the end of my career, unless I get an offer I can't refuse. So to answer your question, my goal is to just grow Bodyslam and the Scandinavian scene as much as possible. And if like let's say like I don't plan on stopping like my wrestling career anytime soon, as long as I can balance both the music and the wrestling. But if that should be the case, like if I should do well in music, because my fan base is slowly beginning to grow now that I'm taking the marketing serious, if I should find enough success where I can like use my popularity and put some shine on Bodyslam, I'll still do that, even though if I'm not in the ring as an active performer. So my goal is to grow Bodyslam, and then hopefully that will be enough to like grow Scandinavian wrestling as a whole, and you know, have some more Scandinavian talent, homegrown talent, get on the scene, because we can book like the biggest stars from outside of Scandinavia, but I think for like the Scandinavian fans, they will resonate the most with their own. So yeah,
homegrown talent.
Exactly. Yeah.
One, obviously, I know Callum mentioned wrapping up, but one final thing. Obviously, we spoke to Emeritus, we spoke to Peter Olisander the other night. You was part of that match of the year with WXW. I mean, what was it like getting to work for WXW? And obviously, how cool was it? Obviously, match of the year, you three guys.
Yeah. Surreal and unexpected are the two words I would use to describe that. I'd say surreal. Well, first of all, actually, I'll say unexpected, because I did not expect that whatsoever. Like prior to that, we did have like a stream. Bodyslam did have a streaming deal with WXW Now, so I knew like we were on like their radar, but I didn't expect it, because I didn't think of all the promotions they could use for the showcase. I didn't think they would use a small promotion in Denmark who has no like history of wrestling whatsoever. So I didn't see that coming, and it was surreal, because again, like I didn't think that Bodyslam, we started in 2015 and this was like 2020. I didn't think within that 5-year like time span we would be wrestling for arguably the biggest like promotion in Europe.
Yeah.
Arguably. So that was like a pleasure for me, and I was so happy and lucky. All of us actually were lucky that we just like made it to like WXW WXW Now showcase, because it was like 5 days later where the pandemic happened. So that was a cool experience, and I wouldn't mind going back whenever the world's back to normal.
Fingers crossed, man.
Fingers crossed. Yes.
Yeah. Before I wrap it up, obviously, please tell everybody where they can find you, social media, any merch you want to promote. Promote the music, man.
Yes, sir. So my social media is just at Michael Fynne. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then my website is michaelfynne.com. And then I got some new merch coming out soon, which I can't go into too much detail. But you can find my merch on my website as well. What else? Oh yeah, my music. My new song Paradise just came out. I mean, this will probably be shown at a later date, but check out my music. You can find the links to that on my social media pages as well. So yeah, man, go check it out.
Excellent. But dude, we can't thank you enough. We really appreciate you. You're a super dude. We'll definitely get you back on.
Definitely.
But for now, Michael Fynne, thank you so much. We are Ringsiders.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Peace.